right, so today is our last day. Nobody's joining us online today. I was just going to go ahead and continue. I did day 2 yesterday and yesterday's live stream in another section, so if you want to see that, go ahead and view it. Otherwise, day 3 is next on Advent of Code here. If you want to read the story, I'll let you do that on your own. Don't worry about it. Basically, it comes down to a bunch of string processing. So there are these random strings that contain letters that represent stuff that's been packed. And the idea here is that you have to split this up into 2 parts evenly. Here, let me go over here and do the scratch work here. So here it is, and you split it up into 2 parts. Oops, no, that's not far enough. There we go. So it's always going to, there's a guarantee here that it's always going to be even length. And you split it up into 2 parts, and you find the letter in one part that is not in the other part. So for example, the only item that appears in both compartments, or sorry, the one that appears in both, so lowercase p here. If I look at lowercase p, it's in the second part right there, and then in this other part right there, right? For this other one here, the second rucksack's compartment contains, this is the first half, and that as the second half. And the only item that appears in both compartments is an uppercase L. Okay? So I thought that since we did the other one in C that we would do this one in Java. Yay? Okay. Let me go ahead and grab this one test case over here and just hard code that as a string. Right? S is equal to this thing here. Because what we're eventually going to do is we are going to, let me make sure that this is working. Uh-oh. Yeah, it is. Okay, good. Nobody's watching anyway, but the recording will be up, so if you want to go back to it. Anyway, we've got this string here, and what we'll do is we'll come back and fill in and get all of the values in the actual file here in a moment. But let's go ahead and write this as a function or as a method in Java, because basically I don't want to, I don't want to code myself into a corner. I want to make this as general as possible because, again, remember day 2 the second part comes along and you have to change it slightly, right? If you just write it really quickly and get it done, then it probably is going to paint you into a corner with the second part. So let's go ahead and go with public static. We're going to return a character that is common to both of those parts. So we're going to go ahead and return a char here, right? And what I'll do is I'll say get common char, right? And we'll go ahead and take a string in here as input, okay? So that I can go ahead and call this, right? Char x is equal to c, let's say, is equal to demo dot get common character of my string, and then system.out.println c. So remember that the common letter here was P, right? Lowercase p, And by the way, if you read the details of this, it is case sensitive. So we're going to want to make sure that lowercase p is not the same thing as uppercase p. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up into 2 parts, right? So given that string, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to split up into the first part and the second part, right? Let's go ahead and get the length of that string first of all. Now, how am I going to split that up into 2 strings? One starting at, say, index 0 up to some other index, then starting at the next index all the way to the other part. So, I don't know, let's call them left and right, or A and B, or something like that. Let's go with A is equal to something, string B is equal to something else. Right? How do I get a substring of that string? S dot substring. This is kind of why I wanted to do it in Java, right? So I can have a beginning index and an ending index, right? Subsequence or substring, right? Subsequence or substring. There we go. What are you complaining about? Nope. Okay. So I don't want subsequence. That'll give me a character sequence substring. There we go. And I'll go from 0 up to something here. I will go from something plus 1 up to all the way to the end, but I don't need to do that. There is another version of this that goes all the way to the end automatically. I don't want subsequence, I want substring. So now let's just think about this with a specific example. If it's of size 10, then it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So how am I going to get that? 10 divided by 2, right? Well, that's 5. Is that where I want to be? No. But let's read our documentation here. It returns a string that is a substring of the given string. The substring begins at the specified begin index and extends to the character at index minus 1. Right? So 10 divided by 2 is going to give me 5. Do I want to go up to and including 5? No, I want to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But it takes care of it for me by going to minus 1. Right? That's how a lot of these functions work. That's how a lot of these methods work. That it knows, oh, everything in this language is 0 indexed. So we're going to design the functions and the methods with that in mind so that you don't have to think about that kind of stuff. Right? Now, what about this one? I'm going to start where? At index 5. Right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? There we go. Now, what if n is not even? Or what if n is not even? What if it's 5? 5 divided by 2 is going to be 2.5. Integer truncation gives me 2. But then it's not evenly divisible, right? I could add a check here. If n mod 2 is not equal to 0, then I could say throw a new runtime exception. Something happened, right? We were given bad input by the Advent of Code folks, right? Okay, so now I've got my 2 substrings. What do I need to do? For each, here, let's outline it. For each character in A, right, ... if it is in B, ... stop, return it. Right, remember we're looking for that one character that is common to both of those, P and P, okay? So how do I iterate over each character in a string? For character C in A dot chars, right? That'll be an int string. I don't want that. Isn't it character as char or something like that? Get chars. Nope, 2 character array. There we go. This is a quick and easy way of doing it, right? I'll convert it to a character array. There are no null terminating characters in Java, so it will not go to the null terminating character. And if it's in B, right? So how do I determine if it's in the second string here? We could do a traditional for loop instead if you want, right? For int I equals 0, I is less than, say, a dot length, I plus plus. And then we could do another for int j equals 0, j is less than b dot length, j plus plus. And we could ask the question. Not auto-completing things for me because I misspelled for. There we go. If a dot character at I is equal to b dot character at j, then we found the common character. What should we do? Return a dot character at I, or the one at j, because they're equal, right? So let's see if this actually works, and otherwise I'll return, I don't know, 0, right? If it doesn't work, then we know that there's a bad input here. And I believe, at least from the example here, I haven't gotten my input yet, it looks like it's all letters. Right? So I'll return a 0 here, indicating that, oops, undo that, indicating that there was probably bad input there. Let's go ahead and run this. I got a P. Hey, great. Let's try this one. I think that the common character here was L, right? L, capital L. Oops, let's go back over here. The third rucksack has capital P. Oh, no, go back over here. Right, there we go. run that. Okay, so I'm convinced that it's working. Right? Now, let's actually do our data here. So let me go ahead and create a file. New file. This is day03.input.txt. There we go. And let's go ahead and get our input here to make sure, see how big it is first. Right? So, pretty big. Not that big. Right? Only 300 strings here. I was kind of worried that if we were to do something brute force like I just did, that we would have like an n squared kind of algorithm, just like selection sort. And then we might be dead in the water here because this is a very inefficient solution, right? So I'm not worried about it though, right? Okay, at least not yet. Probably on on part B, we've dug a hole for ourselves here. Right? All right, so remind me, how can I open up an entire file and read in all those lines and not have to worry about, writing my own loops and stuff like that? Remember that there was that java.nio, that non-blocking IO library? I think we used it in the Pokemon example, right? Or was it? Here's the load from CSV data. Right? I'm just going to go ahead and grab this code and adapt it over here. Right? There we go. The file name is going to be in data slash, what do I call it? day03.input.txt. There we go. There's all my lines. I don't need to parse them out and change them into Pokemon, so there we go. Right. There's the lines. And I bring this out so that it's outside the try. Lines is equal to null. There we go. And then lines. If anything happens, of course, it'll throw an exception and die. It'll catch it, then rethrow it as a runtime exception, and then we're done with it. Okay? Now, for each line, string line in lines, right? That takes care of S, right? So I'll get my character from that line, the common character, and then I'll print it out. There we go. All right, so I'm getting a bunch of stuff that looks somewhat okay, right? I'm not getting any zeros or anything like that. I'm not getting an exception or anything like that, so we're good to go on here. Now, how do we actually report our solution here? In the above example, the priority of the, to help prioritize item arrangements, every item can be converted to a priority. So if it's lowercase a through z, we're going to have numbers 1 through 26. If it's uppercase a through z, we're going to have priorities 27 through 52, okay? And then what we want is a sum of all those things. So lowercase p is the 16th letter, so it's 16. Uppercase L is going to be the 12th letter, but because it's uppercase, we add on 26 to it, okay? Ugh. All right, help me out. How are we going to do that? So I want to map C to 1 to 26 if lowercase. Right? Otherwise, 27 through 52, right? If uppercase. ... Any ideas? Well, let's ask if it's lowercase first of all, right? Character dot is uppercase, right? I can go ahead and put that in there and ask if it's an uppercase, right? Actually, I want lowercase first, right? Lowercase. There you go. Then I'll map it to 1 to 26. Else if, right? Remember that if we were doing this in C, we would use the C type library. Is upper, to upper, is lower, to lower, right? We have in Java a character class, just like we have a big I integer class and a big D double class that has all of these convenient functions for us. Otherwise, else if it's a lowercase, or is uppercase, there we go, C, then we will do the following. Okay, I know it's lowercase. Does anybody know what the lowercase value of, say, lowercase a is in the ASCII text table? Off the top of their head? If not, let's look it up. I think it's 97, but let's be sure. ASCII table. Why is this going to help us? It is indeed 97. I want to map that to 1. I want to map b, lowercase b, to 2. I want to map lowercase c to 3. So what could we do mathematically? Right. Character dot, is there a ASCII text value here? To int? Nope. Dot. Character foo is equal to c. Now what can I do with foo? Char value, nope, not char value. There should be like an int value, isn't there? Directionality, code point. Is it this one? Determines the number of character values needed to represent it. Nope, that's not it. Off the top of my head, digit. Nope, that's not it. 4-digit. Get type. Darn it. Is Java letter. Is space. Is title. Is upper. Does anybody know? Not off the top of your head? All right, fine. Then, oops, dot value of? Oops. All right, so Java, character, char, ASCII value. Find the ASCII value of a character, right? This is perfectly fine to do in almost every situation that you're allowed to, outside resources. This is not cheating, right? This is just basic documentation lookup, okay? What is it? Oh, okay, fine. For God's sakes. Int value is equal to, you just do a forced typecast here of C. Come on. I expected it to be far more sophisticated than that, but nope. All right, fine. Save this, there we go. So there's the value, except that we don't want that value, do we? We don't want 97. What do I have to take off to map a, lowercase a, to 1? If it's already 97, I subtract 96, right? Otherwise, if the value is, let me put the int value up here, right? Int value is equal to, say, 0. Otherwise, the value will be, if it's uppercase, what was the offset there? 65. So I want to map that to 27. 65 minus what gives me 27? 65 minus x equals 27. Okay. DuckDuckGo is not that sophisticated, but Wolfram Alpha can do basic algebra. Right? What's that going to be? 38. All right. So minus 38. There we go. And then, of course, I need to sum that value up. So grand total plus equals value. Right? And I'm not too concerned about printing things out. I just want the final answer here. So int grand total. Initialize that to 0. There we go. What if I didn't initialize that to 0, by the way? Oops, not int grand total. Is it going to let me do this? Not in Java. In Java, there is no default value defined for local variables like this. And so it's going to complain, right, that you need to initialize that variable. In C, it'll let you do that, but it's not going to, it also does not have a default value, right? It could be garbage. So Java saves you a little bit from yourself here. And then system.out.println grand total. Now I'm not going to, I could go ahead and execute this and I get 7850. That might be my solution, but I do not want to risk having to be throttled back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and note here that the sum is 157. And I'm going to change my input here to the test input, run this and see if I get 157. Hey, cool. All right. Now let's come back over here, undo that test data. And what was it again, 7850? All right, that's what I want. And let's see how screwed we are on the second part. Yay, gold star. How am I going to have to, this is a book, gotta read it. As you finish identifying the misplaced items, the elves come to you with another issue. For safety, the elves are divided into groups of 3. Every elf group carries a badge that identifies their group for efficiency. Within each group of 3 elves, the badge is the only item type carried by all 3 elves. That is, if a group's badge is item B, then all of the 3 elves will have item type B somewhere in their rucksack. And at most, 2 of the elves will be carrying the other type of item. That's kind of difficult to parse. Help me out with understanding that. The problem is that somebody forgot to put this year's updated authenticity stickers in the badges. All the badges need to be pulled out of the rucksacks so that the new authenticity stickers can be attached. Nobody wrote down which item corresponds to each of the group's badges. The only way to tell which item is the right one is by finding the one item type that is common between all 3 elves in each group. Every set of the 3 lines in your list corresponds to a single group, but each group can have a different badge item type. So in the above example, the first group's rucksacks are the first 3 lines. Okay, so line, line, line. All right, the 3 lines here. And the second group's rucksacks are the next 3 lines. All right, so remember that was the test input there. And now we're not necessarily splitting up the string into 2 parts. We're now taking 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, okay? In the first group, the only item type that appears in all 3 rucksacks is the lowercase r. This must be in their badges. In the second group, their badge item is type Z. All right, so it doesn't have to appear in both parts anymore, right? All right, well, here. Let's take this over here and so it was lowercase r in the first 3 groups. Find r. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, there. I've got an example here where it only appears in 1/2 because there's only 1 r. But r appears in all 3 lines, okay? So undo, undo, undo. Come back over here, right? Go all the way back down here, right? Their badge must be type Z. Okay. And I only see 1 capital Z in the 3rd one. Priorities for these items must still be found to organize the sticker attachment. So it looks like it's the same priorities, right? Because Z, uppercase Z, is a 52. For the second group, the sum of these is 70. What about the first group? All right, okay, so the sum is 70. So 18 and 52, the sum is 70. Find the item type that corresponds to the badges of the 3 elf groups. Okay. So I am glad I put that into a function up here because we're no longer going to call that function, right? Right? However, we are not going to go line by line by line anymore. We're going to go 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines. Let's just make sure, do a sanity check here just to make sure that we actually have a divisible by 3 total number, 300. Right? That looks good. Right? I'm not going to go line by line by line here. Instead, I'm going to go 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines. Okay? All right. So I'm going to go for a traditional for loop here. For our int I equals 0. I is less than, lines.size, right? I plus equals 3. Why am I going to go by 3s? I'm going to go 0, then 3, then 6, then 9, right? And what I'm going to do is I want lines I plus 1, and I plus 2. Right? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all 3 of those lines and hand them off to another function and let that deal with it. Just like we have substrings and subsequences with strings, we also have sublists, right? So lines.sublist from I up to I plus 2. Now be careful there, right? Let's read the documentation. Because of 0 indexing, it will not include that last one, right? So for example, where is it? it's going to go -1. Where's the documentation? Returns a view of the portion of this list between the specified from index inclusive, there it is, inclusive, and to index exclusive. So I do want to include those 3 lines, right? And if I'm going to do that, is it going to be inclusive on that last one? No. So I go up by 3. That's going to be I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus 3 is not included. It's exclusive on that. Again, you see this pattern all over the place. That because of 0 indexing, it's going to exclude on that second part. Right? Many languages are like this. Okay. There's my sublist of strings. Right? Sub is equal to this, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to suppose that I have this other function here that gives me the value, right? That gives me the character value, right? So what did I have before? Char C is equal to, what did I call this one? Get common character, get common group character, and pass off this sub here. Right? Now obviously that doesn't exist yet. We have to write it. But it allows me to focus my attention on just one example rather than all of them, right? I'm offloading. Good design means that you are splitting things up and into smaller tasks until, okay, this is one small task. I'm going to go ahead and put that into a function so I can think about that separately, right? But otherwise, if that were already done, right? If somebody had already, come on, what's wrong? Well, return 0 for now so that it actually compiles. Oh, come on, what's wrong? Oh, demo dot. Oh, and then we need a list, sorry. A list of strings. List. I'll just call it that. There we go. All right. Now, I don't have to think about that until I have to actually write that function, right? Everything here, nothing changes, right? I can reuse all that logic I have of checking to see if it's a lowercase, uppercase, and then doing the correct offset. Right? Okay, so now we do need to focus on this. So which character will be in all 3 of them, right? So it's got to be in 1. So it doesn't matter which one I iterate over. Right? Let's come back over here. Right? What if it were lowercase w instead? Suppose that there was a lowercase w here, right? At the very end, I don't know. I'm thinking, sorry, my thought process here was that I'm probably going to go with the longest one, but now I'm thinking it doesn't matter, does it? Because it's got to be in all 3, right? So it doesn't matter if you take the shortest one, the first one, the third one, or whatever. The common character has got to be in all 3. They wouldn't give us bad input, right? Okay. So let's just start with the first one, right? For each character, character, char c in list dot get the first one dot what is it, character array? Get char, that's an int string, there, 2 character array, there we go. Right. So for each character in the first one, I want to check the other 2, right? How do I do that? List.get1.contains character sequence. I could do a character sequence. Could I do it like this? Nope. So how do I change a character into a character sequence? CS is equal to new character sequence of C. Can I do that? Oh, apparently not. All right, so contains. Oh, char sequence, sorry. Char sequence CS is equal to new char sequence with just that character. Nope, okay, can't do that. What if I did character dot char sequence? How do I create a character sequence? Character foo is equal to C, foo dot 2 char sequence? Nope. Sequence. How? I think strings should be a character sequence, shouldn't they? So, string builder maybe? SB is equal to new string builder. All right, and then we'll go ahead and append C to it, SB dot append C, and then I want a character sequence out of that, so SB dot 2 string, nope, well 2 string, string S is equal to, S should be a character sequence, right? Contains S. Yeah, there we go. So if the second one contains that, and the third one contains that sequence, which is just a single string, then return C. Okay. So, sorry, to follow along here, what I was wanting to do is I was wanting to cheat or get it done quickly by reusing this string, right? This is a string, and I want to know if it contains this character over here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and convert that character into a string. There might be an easier way to do that, right? Yeah, in fact there is. I can go ahead and just start with an empty string and append C. There we go. I can get rid of that dependency, and I might be able to just do this, but probably not. Nope. Right? So it's going to go ahead and convert that to me, convert that for me. In fact, I could go even better here, character, right? Force it to become an uppercase C character, and then can I do this? Nope, I can't do this, but I can do this. String S is equal to C dot 2 string. There we go. That's even better, I think. Right. Now I'm asking if the second one contains that string as a substring, and the second one contains that as a substring. Good? Right. Simpler code is always better. Otherwise, then we're going to return C here. Now, once again, let's go back over here and grab our test input and see if we get the same answer as the handout. All right. 70? Was it 70? There's the sum. It is indeed 70. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and be quick about this. There we go. Because I'm running up against the clock, right? Well, no, we've got 20 minutes left. And this is 7 days old now. I'm not going to make the leaderboards. Right? 2581. Cross your fingers with me. Yay, we got it. Right. First try for there should be like a I don't know, a platinum star for getting everything on the first try. Right? You should have gold stars, silver stars, and bronze stars. And then I don't know, purple stars or something like that. Just for getting the answer, you get 1 purple star. But if you get it on your first attempt, you get a gold star. First attempt with 1 hour or something like that. I don't know. Right? The guy who put this together is also the guy that wrote. I think, isn't it Jeff Atwood that did this? Does anybody know? No, who made Advent of Code? I thought it was Jeff Atwood. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's somebody else that I'm thinking of. Oh, Eric. There we go. Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Who created it? Yeah, there we go. Eric. I'm surprised he doesn't have his own Wikipedia page. Nope. Because I think he also wrote PHP Sadness. PHP. I thought he did. Yeah, there we go. So we're not doing PHP anymore next semester. We are doing a Python instead. But I always, whenever I did PHP, I would always go to PHP Sadness. The same guy that wrote Advent of Code wrote PHP Sadness, and it's pointing out all of these terrible errors and design flaws in the language itself. So inconsistency, bugs. Some of these have been addressed, right, and fixed in various implementations of PHP. But it's a great resource for going to and saying this is why PHP is bad. It's objectively bad because it's got all these design flaws, right? All right. So you can at least read it. Let's see if there's a quick solution here. Space needs to be cleared before the last supplies can be unloaded from these ships, and so several elves have been assigned to the job of cleaning up sections of the camp. Each section has a unique ID number, and each elf has assigned a range of section IDs. However, as some of the elves compare their section assignments with each other, they've noticed that many of them have overlaps. So, for example, right, 2 to 4, 6 to 8, there's no overlap. While the second elf is sections 6 through 8. The elves in the second pair were each assigned 2 sections, 2, 3, 4, 5, great. The elves in the third pair were assigned 3 sections. One got sections 5, 6, 7, and then the other got 7, 8, and 9. This single digit, blah, blah, blah. All right, so visualizing it here, we've got this. We're going to be detecting overlaps, I guess. How many assignment pairs does one range fully contain the other? Sorry, we're not just looking for overlaps here. So for example, this one, their range is fully contained within this one. The first one's is fully contained within the second one. So I guess the answer here is 2. Yep, excellent. All right. All right, ideas? Well, we only have 14 minutes here, so let's actually just take and, do I care about this? Do you care about this? I'm not going to post it. All right, I'm going to just go ahead and wipe this away. All right. Actually, copy, void, come on. Huh. Whoa. Okay, there we go. Now everything froze up for a second there. Void, day, what was it, 03? There we go. There. Now the code is gone, but I've preserved it somehow, right? Otherwise, I would do a quick git commit and then tag it. Like, okay, I had day 3 done or whatever it was, and then get rid of it, right? So that I have it in my git history. But in any case, let's go ahead and write, I don't know, this one right here. 2, 8, and 3, 7. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write a function here, public complete Boolean complete overlap. Right? And what I mean by that is I'm going to take in x and y. Right? That will be the range of the first elf, and then int a and b. I don't know, you can swap those around or something like that. And I want to know if there's a complete overlap, Boolean b is equal to complete overlap from, oops, not that. Let's take this one, 2 to 8 and 3, 7. So 2, 8, and 3, 7. Right. And then I'll print that out, system.out.println b. Right. Remember, this one should be true, okay? How do we go about determining this? How do we know that x and y fall within a and b? X and y fall within a to b. If x is less than or equal to a, right? And what else? B is less than or equal to y. Right? Return true. How do I know else if? If, for this one, I'm going to go with A and B lie within X to Y. Right? So X fall within, sorry, that was the other one. What am I saying? X, A and B are with, so let me switch these around. This is the one I just did, and let's go ahead and do this one right here. Right? Oop, and comment that out. Right? So X and Y fall within A and B. A is less than or equal to X, and y is less than or equal to b. Right, there we go. I'll return true. Otherwise, return false. There we go. So now this should be true, right? Uh-oh. I don't have a compiler error. Public static, sorry. There we go, true. Right? Put in another test case here, like a 2 to 6 and 4 to 8. 2 to 6 and 4 to 8. This should be false. I just want to at least try 2 here. Uh-oh. 2, oh, 4 to 8, thank you. That would be true, wouldn't it? Yeah, false. Okay, there we go. All right. The only thing I want to do here is simplify this code. Right? How could I simplify this code? This case you return true. This case you return true. Here's my first step to simplifying this. I'm going to combine both of these into one. Right? If that's true, or that's true, then return true. And here I'm getting rid of my comments as well. There we go. Can I simplify it even further? Yeah.
Do you need the parentheses around the...
For readability, yes. Let's answer that final question when we get this into a final form here. Right? Okay. How can I simplify this even further? Again, code golf, right? Make this simpler. Well, if that thing is true, then you return true, right? Otherwise, if it's false, you return false. A is A, right? Return the truth value of this entire thing and be done with it. If it was true, then it'll end up returning true. If it's false, it'll end up returning false. That's the better way of writing that stuff. Now, your question was about these parentheses?
Yeah.
Good question, right? So that relies on what's the order of operations for ands and ors? Do we know off the top of our head? I think I'm 99% sure that it's and before or, but I don't know. Let's go with Java. Something. It's going to be the same for all languages. And or precedence. There we go. Order operator precedence, and already it's telling me that it's not. Come on, where is it? All right, fine. And. There we go. Yep. Logical and goes first. So, if we didn't have these parentheses here, what would we have? That would get done first, giving me this. That would get done second, giving me this, without me erasing the parentheses. And then both of those things together then would be ORed together. So no, those parentheses are not necessary, technically, but I ain't omitting them because then that becomes completely unreadable. At least to me, this becomes completely unreadable. Right? All right, what are you doing here again? Right? Okay, I have to read this because our natural inclination is to read left to right. And if I start reading this left and right, I see and then an or, and then we switch back to an and, right? Whereas if we had put in those parentheses, then immediately my math-oriented brain here is going to say, oh, we've got parentheses here. Only read up to that thing. In English, that's why we have periods, right? Only read this sentence. Don't just continue reading, right? There's the complete idea. There's the complete idea. There's the second complete idea, and just be done with it. Okay? All right. 6 minutes left. Oh, I didn't get my input, did I? Here's my input. Okay. File I/O, right? If I were to do this the hard way, I would end up going through and reading each line using that code that I had before, splitting it up along commas, and then those two substrings I would end up splitting along hyphens. That would give me 4 values. Those 4 values, I would call that other function. I would sum up the number of times that it returns true, right? For each one, if whatever the function I call complete overlap then I++, right? Because it's asking for the number of them. Is there a way that we could get away without having to do much file I/O? Darn it. Okay. Hopefully it's not that bad. Otherwise, all right, ignore this. All right. foo.md on my desktop. All right. So, ideas? I'm going to use a regular expression here, right? I'm going to remove, well, here, I'll just remove everything, right? Replace all of those with, actually, no, let's not replace those. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these into, I don't know, an array of arrays. Right? So let's do that. So let's replace all hyphens with commas. It's not regular expression. There we go. Right? There are 4 numbers, 4 numbers, 4 numbers. Now, it doesn't look like a bunch of arrays yet, does it? It needs to look something like this, and then the comma at the end. Right, so I could go through and do that for every single line. How many lines are there? 1,000. Do you want to do 1,000 data entry tasks? No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to examine the beginning of every line, any characters, right? And then the end of the line, right? I need to turn on regular expressions here. That will match every single line. And then what I want to do is I want to replace the beginning of the line with an opening curly bracket, whatever I read to begin with, and then a closing curly bracket and a comma. To do that, what I need is a grouping, or I forget what it's called, but there we go. Oh, come on, really? I'm not going to be able to do, oh no, okay, yeah, this should work, right? I can always undo if it doesn't. There we go. Right. So let me walk you through that. Yeah, it's viewable on the live stream here. Right? I can pull this up. So this is a regular expression. There are special symbols that match certain things. For example, the beginning of a line is a caret. Right? The ending of a line is a $sign. If you put parentheses in your regular expression, that's a group. Right? If I had multiple ones, right? If I had, say, F, right? I'm going to match the single letter F here, and that's going to be my second group. Then I would refer to them as $1, $2, $3, however many groups that you have, right? I only had one group here. The period, I think we've talked about this briefly before, the period matches any character at all, period, right? Period. The star behind it says 0 or more characters, 0 or more instances. You have other modifiers here, for example, 1 or more instances plus, right? Or you could hard code this to say that, well, I want everything that begins with a 2, right? And then anything following that, right? Let's go ahead and get rid of this, right? And then let's find, right? No? Okay, that's because I'm doing endline character here, There we go. Find, there we go. Right, there. It matched that 2 and then went all the way to the end of the line. It matched that 2 and then went all the way to the end of the line, right? Because I was matching 2 and then any characters following that, any number of them, 0 or more, right? All right, so really powerful stuff here. Again, it goes beyond the scope of this course. I do want you to understand that there are these tools out there and that you can then jump into your own investigation, right? Anytime you have 1,000 things and you want to modify them, right? It's that empty line there. And you want to modify them so that you can put them into code easier or something like that, right? A regular expression is going to be your friend. Now, why does this help us? Because what I can do is I can come over here and go public static final int array is equal to, there. It's an array of arrays. This is probably not going to work. But you get the idea. Come on. Why are you complaining? It's an array of arrays. I can do that then, can't I? Yeah, there we go. It's an array of arrays. Do I have to do any file I/O at all? Nope. How many of them do I have? Because it's Java, array.length will get that done for me. How many does each one have? I'm guaranteed to have 4. Right? So we only have 5 seconds left, and I'm not confident enough that I can do it in 5 seconds. So we'll end it there. Right? But really cool stuff that you can do with regular expressions. Right? Get into it if you can.